Thanks for doing this, Justin. How are you?
Pretty good, Marty. How are you?
Very good. How are you weathering the storm out in Alberta?
It's different. It's definitely a unique experience. I live alone and um, don't have any pets or anything, so I'm very isolated, and it's not ideal, but we're getting through it.
No kidding. I thought you were on your own out there. So you haven't seen anyone other than people like the grocery store for how long now?
Yeah, like 3 weeks. I've been working from home for 3 weeks now, and like maybe 3 days have I seen other people like face to face and had a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a different world out there.
How long? How long can you go at any point in time without having to step out of the house? Like, are you one of them preppers or?
Um, I have a Costco membership and live alone, so like I have a freezer, chest freezer, so I could be good for probably 3 months without leaving the house. But yeah, I've been getting out to the grocery store, going for
Yeah.
walks and runs, trying to stay active. I think that's the hardest part. Is usually I go to the gym every
That
day.
that I Yeah, I miss the gym a lot. Like I really enjoy lifting
Yeah.
weights. Like that's like one of those things I almost not miss a single work day. Like Monday to Friday, it's like plus I work in rec facilities, right? So I mean like it's right there. So I have my membership and I just trained. I have found that to be hard, but some of my colleagues in the fitness industry has started this with their staff and all that. They started to like Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11. We have a Zoom conference call. And my buddy Brian, actually, Brian was on the podcast 2 episodes ago. Gentleman that did the canyoneering for the folks at home in Utah. Anyways, he's a fitness guru, so he calls us in and he makes us do a bunch of push-ups and this and that. So it's I mean it's I think it's important that we all keep active because it's so easy to become lazy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even just not like I usually walk into work and I've been having to cut down my
Yeah,
calories per day just because I'm not burning like 400 calories there, and I was eating the same. I'm like, you're getting a little pudgy there,
yeah.
Justin. You should probably cut back a bit. Yeah,
That's
the
so
the
funny.
quarantine 15 is
Yeah, no,
real.
yeah, no kidding, eh? And it's I went to Costco, so here in the Ottawa region, they officially close on the Friday. So Friday 3 p.m. they announced that the city would close all rec facilities and everything on Friday, but they would be closed as of Monday, basically. So anyway, so that Friday night I went to the Costco and dude, everything was empty. Like the shelves of like all the frozen meat, everything was just bone dry empty. People went
Oh
crazy.
wow.
How did it go out there when that decision was made?
It wasn't too bad. I went to the Costco probably like 4 or 5 days after like they started recommending people work from home and not go out and self isolate and all that. And there's a big lineup for toilet paper, but other than that, it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
Yeah, just the toilet paper thing.
Yeah, I'm counting squares right now. I'm not gonna lie. I'm at a point right
Well, you
now.
have a lot of kids, right?
Yeah, well, I have two kids and my wife.
Two kids.
So we're four here. And luckily, we had some supplies because the house that I just finished building last July, that we moved in, we built a bed and breakfast. So I had extra supply for the business that is now not running, obviously. But we're getting pretty dry, and it's one of those things where this whole this whole virus thing is pretty darn serious. Like the people that don't believe it, it's like I don't know if you listen to like the Joe Rogan podcast or anything like that, but like last week or a couple of days ago, Dr. Peter Hotez was on there, one of the leading scientists talking about it, and it's like it's no joke. So like even stepping out just to go like to the grocery store, we think twice. Like we're trying to utilize every resource that we have here to minimize how many times we go out, right? And because I have young
Yeah.
kids as well, like the last thing I want them to catch it as well. So yeah, it's there's strange times for sure. And I imagine if you're
Yeah.
living alone like you are, that's got to be pretty lonely.
Yeah, I might get a fish. I don't know. The pet stores are still open, so I might go out and get a fish. They're good listeners, so hang out with them.
Right on. But yeah, no kidding. Eh? And is everything closed out in Alberta or?
Things are still there's still a good amount of stuff open. Like all the restaurants and things like that are closed, obviously, but most stores are still open and are operating in some capacity. Like you can go to Best Buy and pick things up from the curb. They still don't let you inside the store.
Okay, because
Yeah.
for us, everything like in Quebec, everything is closed. Because I live on the Quebec side, so everything is closed except essentials, and that list is somewhat long. And in Ottawa, the list of essentials is much longer. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's no, it's definitely insane. And from my friends who are, how old are you now, Justin?
33.
Okay, so we're actually the same age, and you and I might have crossed paths perhaps in the past. So we'll have to get to that after. But my
Yeah.
friends that are our age, so I'm 32, um, who are working like in Montreal, for example, they live alone in their apartment, and they're like, dude, I've never worked this much because there's no distraction. It's like I wake up, I sit in front of my computer, I'll work 12 hours. I won't even think of eating lunch. I won't even think of anything, and I just get up and I'm like, wow, that was the full day went by, right? Are you feeling the same or?
Yeah, it's like work's actually been pretty busy for me. So I think I put in 12 to 14 hours every day this week, and it'll slow down next week. I want to have a bit more of a balance. There's just a lot of stuff to do, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's easy to just get lost in work when all you can do is maybe go for a run for an hour every day, 30 minutes of like push-ups and sit-ups, and other than that, you're cooking meals.
Yeah, that's that's all you're doing, eh? Oh,
That's it, yeah.
how long do we have to be in quarantine before you start packing your bag and taking hikes in your neighborhood with your full pack on?
Sunday.
Oh, Sunday.
I'm doing an urban hike this Sunday. I have a 43-kilometer route planned. I'm
Nice.
gonna hike along the rivers and yeah, do a little urban backpacking with my like full kit all ready to go.
Just to get the reps in, I'm assuming.
Yeah, just to keep things going. And like I got some new gear right before this all hit that I
Yeah.
want to use, and it'll be nice just to get out for like a full day
Yeah.
of outdoors. And it's supposed to be really cold, so I won't expect there to be a lot of other people out there. So
Mm.
yeah, it'll be
And
fun.
whereabouts in Alberta are you? You don't have to be too specific, but
I live in pretty much downtown Calgary.
oh, okay, so you're in Calgary. Okay, so you're down there.
Yeah,
It's a nice
yeah,
place. I remember going there maybe 7 years ago. It's not a bad place at all. And you're really close to the Rockies too.
yeah, exactly. It reminds me a lot of Ottawa. Actually, it's very similar in the fact that there's like a river going through it, and then another river that kind of comes in from the side, and they're both very beautiful cities, which I really like. And then yeah, you have the Rockies right next door, and Gatineau Park right next door to Ottawa.
Except your mountains they dwarf mine, right? So it's different for sure. But no, yeah. And I remember when I went to Calgary, the first thing that hit me the most is how clean the city was. Personally, I don't know if it's changed since then, but like it was a clean city. And is it still divided in these four quadrants? Are people still going around town like that as well? Yeah.
Yeah, it's still four quadrants: northwest, southeast,
Right on.
southwest, northeast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really easy road structure. It's all numbered and really easy
Yeah.
to kind of get around with. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember that from when I was out there. Now you're a fellow Ottawa citizen, at least back in the day. So right where I'm from, or I'm born and raised in Gatineau. So, but I've lived my entire life in, in Ottawa. Really, uh,
You live in Chelsea, right?
I'm up in Wakefield actually, just the
Wakefield. Okay.
town right after. I really wanted to
Yeah.
buy a piece of property in Chelsea and build there, but just the finance, it's just gotten so expensive. And
Yeah.
luckily for us, by pushing the boundaries as to where we wanted to go, although I grew up in this region my entire like I've been here for 32 years, I never really explored Wakefield, and it is just such a beautiful little village. Like we're really happy
Yeah.
actually we pushed our boundaries just an extra like 10 minutes of car. just to get there. And I don't know how long ago you moved away, but now the Highway 5 goes right into town, like from Ottawa to Wakefield. So I have one street light from my house to the McDonald Carter Bridge downtown Ottawa.
Oh wow, that's really good.
Yeah. I get up in the morning, I go on the highway, I put the cruise control, and that's it. I just zoom right in, and I work right downtown. So,
That's beautiful.
yeah, so did you grow up in Ottawa? Is that
Yeah, so I grew up up the river from like downtown Ottawa. I grew up about 45 minutes outside the city, north of Ottawa in the West Carleton area, Buckham's Bay,
okay?
Constance Bay. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
lived on the river and in the rural outskirts of Ottawa there.
Okay, so dude, Constance Bay got hit hard last year with the floods.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah.
is your family like living out in that area? Were they affected or?
No, my parents moved out of there about 15, 20 years
Okay,
ago now.
okay.
So yeah, yeah.
Because
Once I
man,
went to university, they moved.
yeah, I myself have a triplex that I own on this Gatineau side that's on the river or on the side of it's one of them bays anyways along the way, and the property gets affected, the garage and everything gets affected, but luckily so far it never reached the house. But last year Constance Bay got yeah, they got hit really hard with, and it's kind of odd because 2 years prior to that in 2017 they didn't get hit at all or very little compared to this time. So it's almost as if like, because for me in 2019 the floods were much and for the folks at home, just to give so they understand what's happening, is in the Ottawa region, at least, actually way more than just in the Ottawa region. In the spring, for the past 3 years, we've been experiencing like some severe floods where like houses are getting destroyed by the river and people like are trying to sandbag, and we go through this for like a month at a time. It's actually pretty insane. But so in 2019 it was a worse year, but for me it was better where I was.
Okay.
But there's no dam between me and Constance Bay really. Like they're all deficient
Yeah.
dams. It's not like they're keeping them. So it's kind of it's odd. It's almost like in 2017 when the first flood happened, probably when the water retracted, it must have created a bunch of new channels. And then the second time it flooded, it just went other places. It's very odd. Anyways,
Yeah,
but
it's
okay.
very, very strange.
So and do you? Because you've answered a couple of my comments in the past in French as well. Are you? Can you speak French as well, or is just one of those? How versatile are you with it?
I used to be able to speak French really well. Like I grew up skiing at Mont Tremblant and
Yeah.
taught over there, so I was pretty good at like the 5-year-old level. I could speak fluently with a 5-year-old. But it's gone now. Yeah, my vocabulary is shot.
Because you probably don't get to practice it all that much out there, right?
No one speaks French in Alberta, really. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's unfortunate.
Well, Alberta. Yeah, Alberta has some. So my parents are from not from. My sister is born in St. Paul, Alberta. So I don't know. It's more
Is that
north.
north?
It's right in line with Jasper. Oh no, Edmonton, right? Sorry,
Okay.
you would kind of hit it like that. And that's a used to be at least a very francophone town.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there's some
yes.
French places up in the northeast, like Lac La Biche and some other spots.
Yes, I think that's all those areas, right? And
Yeah.
and in just across the river from Winnipeg, that's in Manitoba. There's a pretty strong French community there as well. But yeah, if you're far from Quebec, for sure the francophone communities are. It's hard. Like we try our best to be a bilingual country, but it's not an easy thing to do to maintain two languages everywhere, and it's it can be seen as it's for sure a shame that we're not being more successful at maintaining both, right? But at the same time, it's a challenge, like if just financially to do that. But when did you move out to Calgary?
I moved out here it was 7 years ago this summer. Moved out here, but I was kind of all over the country for a while there. I haven't lived in Ottawa since full time. I haven't lived in Ottawa probably since 2009, so about 11 years ago. Yeah.
Now, did you go to university in town here or?
Yeah, I did my undergrad at Carleton University in Ottawa, and then I did my master's in Waterloo, just down near Toronto.
Okay, so you have, and what did you do in school?
Biology, so a lot of
Oh,
more outdoor based ecology stuff, plants, animals, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
okay, okay, that's interesting. And what brought so and then you said you were going around the country, so I'm assuming you worked in your field and you were just moving around, or?
Yeah, that was it. I went and worked in Halifax on the East Coast for a couple of
That's a
years.
nice place.
That's a really nice place, yeah.
That's a
And then
really nice
I
place.
went to Waterloo to do my master's, and halfway through that, I moved to Revelstoke in British Columbia, and I was a ski bum for a winter over there, and then
Nice.
back to Waterloo, and then over to Calgary.
Yeah. Halifax is one of my favorite. Well, the east, just the eastern provinces are just they're just phenomenal, right? But Halifax is a great place. I really enjoyed traveling out there. When I was younger, I toured the country in a van with my bud Nick at the time. So we had that was right after college. And anyways, we ended up out east. We were playing music, and then we in Halifax, and what's that little island up there? It's Cape Breton.
PEI? Okay, Brett,
No,
yeah.
Cape. Well, yeah, PI as well, but Cape Breton Island, and I had some friends up there that were playing music as well. Just the people are just so nice, so nice that you can't find nicer people than the Eastern.
No, you can't.
I don't. Is it because they don't have a lot of people around them, so they just take care of each other so well, and life, the reality of their life is just it's perhaps just a harder place to live than in Ottawa, for example, economically and weather-wise. But man, the people are nice.
I think maybe it's because it's smaller, but like I know when I moved there, I didn't know anybody. And the first day that I moved there, I went out for a walk, just kind of explore, and this group of people were just like, "Hey, what are you up to?" And I was just like, "Oh, just going for a walk. I just moved here." And they're like, "We're having a party. Come on over." And I was like, "Okay."
That Do you know how many people will say that kind of story though? Like about the East, it's insane. I frig, I lost my train of thought here. But the friends that I had out there, I met them playing music. So they came to Ottawa. We were touring. Actually, I don't know if you know, right on Rideau, the Maverick.
Yes.
Just
Yep.
and back then, I don't know if you were into music at all growing up, but there's the Capitol Music Hall across the street. They tore down, which was a shame.
Yeah.
It's the best place in town to watch music. But anyways, so we played a show at the Mavericks together, and we became really close buddies. I go out there, and they just like fed us, welcomed us, and we saw each other like once. And back then, that was the MySpace kind of time. It's not like we could. Communication wasn't what it is today, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. The people out there are they're stellar. They're just, they're the best. And yeah, and then I ended up going all the way to Tofino. Have you ever made your way all the way to Tofino?
The closest I got was the West Coast Trail, so several hours
Okay.
away. Yeah.
Yeah. But man, if you can take some time off and go out there, it's a pretty neat place. I ended up staying there about 3 months just to surf and all that. Like you were a ski bum, I was just a surfing bum out there for the time I was there.
That's
And
awesome.
it's a great place. It really is.
Were you playing music out there as well in Tofino?
Not out west. So when at the time, right out of college, so my story is kind of weird because I studied computer science. And then I knew right. So I was 20 when I graduated college, like full on done, ready to work. And I was already working at the federal government at the time through FSWEP and all that. And they were just about to bridge me in, right? So like you're talking like a 12 years ago, $55,000 job at 20 years old, like, and like talk about like getting into your pension and all that, right? And I
Yeah.
just hated it. I couldn't stand it. I finished school just cause I just couldn't stand it. So I quit all that to play music.
Nice.
and so me and my buddy Nick put this act together because we had a band at the time. Not everybody wanted to go on tour and all that. So then we toured out east. So the tour was from here to PI and Halifax, and then all the way back down to Toronto. So we did all that, and then after that we headed west to the goal. It's so funny when you think about this because we were so young. The goal was to settle out west and write our next record out there. But, life changed along the way. We found out about surfing. That's all we did. And, it was just, it's this time in your life when you're 20 where you just got to explore things, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
So we went out there and we had a blast. But Tofino is another great place for sure, man.
Yeah, it's on my list.
Yeah. Well, you said the West Coast Trail there. Now, what did I see? Was it on Facebook or wherever it might have been? You got a permit to do some kind of long trail.
I did the West Coast Trail two years ago.
So you did the whole West Coast Trail already?
Yes. Yeah.
And aren't you planning to do another trail right now?
I have plans. It's in the works right now. To hike the Great Divide Trail next summer.
That's what. That's what it is for next summer. So it's still a little ways away, but you're trying to line it up. So Your West Coast Trail was a through hike?
It's a 7-day. Yeah, it's a through hike, but it's just only a 7-day trip. It's pretty short.
Yeah, but I've never gone out in the wilderness for 7 days. So how was that?
It was good. It was really interesting because it was for I was in a group of 7 people, and for I think half of those people, it was their first trip.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it was interesting in that regard.
Is there any town?
There's little towns on either end, so it goes right along the shore of the island. And you start at one town, go to the other one, and it's 70 kilometers, and you kind of just take your time because there's a lot of beautiful things along the trail, and you can stop and see sea lions and some really nice like tide caves and things like that. It's an amazing trail.
British Columbia is breathtaking. It really is. Like it's just I can only imagine how great that would be. You were gonna say a lot of the people were new at this, so did you take any leadership role?
I basically had to tell everyone exactly what to do. I made packing lists for everybody, shook everybody's packs down. Like I had one buddy who ended up hiking. He finished the trail with a 50-pound pack.
Oh, good man.
And that was after I kind of told him to get rid of some stuff. And yeah, he started off with 70 pounds going into it.
Wow. With food and water, I'm assuming?
That was full everything. Yeah.
So you shedded 20 pounds off his back. What came out?
He had a lot of clothes. Well, he started off with like 80 pounds. I got him down to 70 pounds to start the trail.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, and then he got rid of 20 pounds worth of food along the way. But even 50-pound pack starting that trail, like the rest of us were probably around 30 to 35 pounds. So he was way up there. He had bocce ball and some other stuff with him, but he had fun.
Yeah, leave that at home. That's yeah. I what's usually your weight on your back when you go out?
For an overnighter, it's under 20 pounds somewhere usually, like around 15 to 18 pounds.
With food and water?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good. And if you're going for a weekend, like 2-3 days, 2-3 nights?
Yeah, then it's usually around 20 pounds. Like my base weight's just around 10 pounds. So then a couple pounds of weight per day for food.
That's pretty good. That's really good. I have yet to work on my packs in terms of getting the weight down. Personally, I just well, now life is a lot more complicated than it was when I started.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of mouth to feed and just like, whenever I buy a piece of gear for me, and I've been like bringing the kids on most of the outings I do. So like I'm training them to do a lot of stuff. So when I buy a sleeping bag, I buy 3.
Yeah.
I buy 4, right? So it's one of those things where, so my gear I've had for a long time. I still rock the Bora 80 from Arc'teryx. That pack came out in 2004.
That's a beast. Yeah.
It is a beast. It's a great pack. Like, I mean, it's gone through everything with me, but it's so heavy. It could very well be 4 pounds. I've never weighted it. But
I think it's 6 or 7.
Is it? I think I saw, because you go hiking with Matty Outdoors sometimes, right?
Yeah, there's Matty Outdoors, Jesse from Backcountry 4, and then Marty up north are kind of the other 3 YouTubers in the Alberta
Are
scene.
you all close to each other, or?
We're pretty close. Like Matty, Jesse, and I are closer just because we're in more similar age. So we just have a bit more in common. So we chat quite a bit. Like I probably chat with Matt and Jesse like every day, pretty much.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. That's like me and my bud Pierre-Antoine Pierre from Outdoor Therapy, who started his channel at the same time as me in January. But him and I, do you know the water park Calypso in Ottawa?
I do, yes.
Okay, so we opened that park the year that it opened together. That's where we met. So he was in charge. He was in charge of all the programming on the park, and I was the aquatic guy. So that's kind of how we met, and since then we've just been freaking camping all the time.
That's all. Yeah, I saw him on a couple of your videos.
Yeah, he's there all the time because it's just like, if I get to go out, and Pierre is just a stellar guy as well. He's just an awesome guy. And even when I go out with the kids, he doesn't mind coming out with me. So, like, if everything settles this summer, like, we're going out canoe camping with the kids, and we're going to go out, him and myself alone, and a bunch of different things like that. So he ends up being on a lot of my videos just because there's not a lot of people that are willing to put themselves in those situations.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like to leave for 4 or 5 days and to go like rain or shine and to endure some of the stuff that I do, or like especially the winter trips that I do in the Adirondacks. Like last February, we slept 2 nights at -40. Like our little thermometer from MEC couldn't read the temperature anymore. Like that's how cold it was. So once you find the people that are willing to do that kind of crazy stuff with you, you just hold on to them, right?
Oh yeah, you have to.
You have to. There's not that many. But what I said, the reason why I brought Matty Outdoors in this is I think I saw a post on Instagram. I think he has the same pack as me. Well, at least he has that pack as well, the Bora 80 from Arc'teryx. So
yeah.
But anyways, and then there's Marty up north as well out there. He's got to speak French though.
He speaks French. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think what's his last name? Bélanger. Anyways?
Bélanger. Yeah.
Because I figured Matty would speak French a little bit because his last name is Saint Arnaud, so that's pretty French. But he said he doesn't. So
yep.
I'm trying to find the francophones out of all the groups in there.
You can hear Marty's accent sometimes in his videos, even every once in a while.
Yeah, for sure, a little bit. But he's actually pretty good though.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a very thick accent or anything like that. He's obviously been out there for a while now.
Yeah.
So. It's one of the things I like to do with the YouTubers. I find, whether I find you in your beginning and then 2 years later I realize like, oh, I should do this, or I find you and you're already well on your way. You've been at it for a year or two. I always do this is I go to your videos or to anyone's videos and I switch the order from your first video to your last video, and that's probably what. By doing that, it's probably why I officially had the guts to do it eventually, to put myself out there, because that's when I realized, oh, people become better at this. They don't start necessarily that good, right? So
you see the terrible videos from the beginning.
Yeah, right. So have you watched some of your early videos lately? Do you do that from time to time? Just kind of go back in time?
I watched one from November. That was probably the latest, like 4 months ago. And even only like, because I've been at this a year now, even going back only like 4 months, I was still like, ooh, I felt like the quality was a lot worse than what I would have liked at the time. But
it's crazy. Once, I don't know if you feel this. I've been at it since January 1st. I had some videos in the past and I wanted to start way earlier than that, but I was building my house, so I had no time to start a YouTube channel at the time. But even within that short period of time for me, from January to now, and especially now, some of the videos that are coming out, I shot all last summer. The quality is just of in my opinion at least, and it's very encouraging. I look at it and I see, there's a clear progression, right? And I think that's the most important part. You don't have to start as the best. The idea is as long as you're learning and moving forward all the time, right? But how do you
Yeah,
feel
exactly.
about your progression?
I feel good about like it's one of those things. Every single time I make a video, there's always things I notice that I'm like, I wish I'd done this differently or that differently. But I try not to let it really. I try not to dwell on it too much. I try to just improve one thing every video, and if I manage that, then I consider it a success. And that's kind of how I keep
I
myself sane.
And yeah, I think you said it right. You don't want to dwell too much on the past. And the other thing too is, you want the most important thing in my opinion is to post, get it out there, and then learn from that, build
Mm-hmm.
from that, right? And people appreciate seeing your progression as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, but it's always such a fun exercise to do. Like like I don't know if you know Unbox Therapy. It has nothing to do with the outdoor, but it's a pretty popular YouTube channel where the guy orders shit from Amazon and literally unbox it on camera. That's all it is.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I haven't seen it.
okay, well the guy is great, but the point is that I think that's the one that was like, oh, that I realized I'm like, you just don't start that good because it was so bad the first video. I was like, holy cow! Like there's clearly the way to get better. It's like anything else in life. It's practice and putting it out there, right? And if you
Yeah.
don't put it out there, in my opinion, I don't think you're getting the same value in
Exactly.
terms of learning because now you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position. Um,
Yeah. You learn by
and
doing. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, huge part. And the community. Man, the outdoor community in the last year grew like crazy.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, some people think it's not a good thing, others might think it's a good thing. To me, it's like I don't see it as competition. I see it as just like, colleagues and all of the comments that we drop on each other's video and the interactions that we learned so much from that. Like I learn a lot from watching other people's videos because when I watch a video, I don't necessarily watch the content. I watch what did they do, what
Yeah.
was different, right? And why was it captivating? That now I don't know for you, but I listened to a YouTube video and I never. It's my mind is so looking for different things.
Yeah, there's the details. There's the production that you're looking at it, the little things that go behind each little piece, how a cut's being made, how the audio sounds, and yeah, even just like lighting.
The
Lighting's
angle,
such a big thing. Angles, yeah,
the Yeah, the angle changes. When I realized people were doing angle changes, I'm like, oh shit, like something's different here, right?
yeah,
And it's good though. Like that's how we kind of all learn, in my opinion. But one of the things that because I've been following you, I was trying to go back in time. You must have been somewhere around the 500 subscriber mark. I believe that's about when I probably started to follow you and started to drop comments and all that. And one of the things, and I mean, I've sent that to you many times. I'm like, man, you need to make a Justin approved stamp because you are the most detail oriented person I know on YouTube in the world of the outdoors. And I think that's why you did so well in your first year because you did pretty darn good in your first year. You're just shy of 5,000 subscribers. It's not a bad year at all. Uh,
hmm
but to me, it's like that's what makes you different from everyone else. It's just like, dude, you bring the information. Like when the new R value system came out, the first place I went was your video. I was like, just tell me what the deal is, so I don't have to look it up anywhere else.
yeah.
So where's that coming from?
I think that's just been it's definitely like genetically coming from my dad. My dad's a very detail oriented person. But I've been kind of very analytical my whole life. I make spreadsheets about things. I research every little purchase down to the tiniest minutia, and I don't know. I enjoy it a lot. And one of the things that
Of course.
one of the things my friends told me and what prompted me to start the YouTube channel was they'd always come to me for advice because they would know I probably would have researched literally anything. If they're like, I need a new coffee maker, even I probably have researched and have a spreadsheet about it. So that kind of prompted me like, yeah, I have a lot of knowledge up here and spreadsheets with analytics of different gear. So I'll start sharing that with people.
Yeah, and it's to me, I think that's where you shine the most. Like that's that's so Justin. You know what I mean? Like when I look at your video, I'm like, that's what I'm going for, and that's what I'm getting. So I think you should keep diving into that. Don't change that at all. It's great in my opinion. That's neat though. So you started YouTube to share that knowledge with some of your friends, and that was kind of like, oh, maybe I should do that. Why did you land in the backpacking world? Is that the only kind of outdoor that you do, or
I think because it's probably where I've done the most research. So it's where I have the most
okay?
knowledge. Um, I do a lot of things I do a lot of skiing and stuff like that, but I just don't have the same level of knowledge of different things as I do with backpacking. So it's just based on the fact that that's what I'm most knowledgeable about. So that's where I went.
That's what you went for. But because you posted your first, was it your first canoe trip? Not your first canoe trip, but your first canoe trip on your channel 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Of the Red Deer River in Alberta here.
How was the response from your followers? Did people enjoy the fact that you went outside of the backpacking? You know,
I think they did. Like, as a lot of backpacker YouTubers will say, like trip videos are kind of hard to get traction with sometimes. But it did pretty well. I think it helped that it was relatively short, so people were happy to kind of stick around for a 10-minute trip video. But yeah, I think I like trip videos. They're a lot of work, and
they are. There's so much work.
and I actually do really enjoy the gear videos, and I probably get a little bit of flack from some people in the backpacking world for doing more gear videos than trip videos, but I really enjoy doing them, and the trip videos are fun. But yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you don't listen to anyone. I think, like I said, like to me, who you are with what you have to offer definitely lies within the gear. Like, and you're obviously someone that enjoys gear. You have a decent amount of gear at home, so like you're showcasing it. You're always looking and research. Like I never research gear. I don't I haven't researched a winter sleeping bag for 14 years because I bought mine 14 years ago and I just haven't felt the need to change. So I don't.
And if you don't enjoy it,
to be,
then that's like for me, like it's I enjoy new gear, so it's just kind of like what I go with. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think people might be, I understand where the slack may come from because there's more traction to be taken with Talking Heads video, but yeah, you don't want to let people get into your head too much. No. I personally get the most traction out of my trip videos so far. I mean, my channel is so small, so it's kind of hard, and a lot of my subscribers are people that I know. Like, I don't think I've done I mean, obviously, I'm like at 170 right now, so obviously, I don't think all 170 are people that I know, but a good chunk. Like you could probably say close to 50% are probably people that are fairly close to me or that I've crossed paths in the past, right? Because when I put it out on Facebook and all that, like all my friends or long ago friends, I'm assuming some of them jumped on. So far, and I don't know if it's because of my subscriber count, but for me, like the traction that I get by putting the trip videos is like, it's based on my analytics. It's telling me just do that, but it's hard, man. They're a lot of work, and I mean, I just can't go on 52 trips a year. Like I don't have that kind of time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If I didn't have kids, it'd be different. And once the kids start, this year we did our first overnight outside in the Quincy, which was a real good success. But once the kids start, like I was thinking, like if I can get a sled and a hot tent for next year, I could probably camp with the kids every weekend. Like just go out. And that would be fun. That would be actually pretty fun, and it wouldn't be that expensive. Like within for probably $600-700, I could get into into that, and I think that'd be fun. Like hot tenting, man. I want to try that. It looks pretty darn cool.
Yeah, there's a guy in Alberta here who makes a pretty affordable titanium stove that you can get. I think it's about
Oh, is that right?
$300. Um, that he makes.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's way like the U.S. ones are like they end up being like $600 after taxes and exchange rate and all that.
Oh,
So
our dollar's shit right now too, right? So it's like it's so bad. Okay, there's a guy. I'll hit you up for that. I want that contact. I'll look it up later because yeah, I'm thinking that might be a way for me to go out more. But yeah, I'm getting way more traction out of my trip videos, and even more like the last video I just pumped out with it was a bike packing trip from last summer with the kids, the one that came out Wednesday. When I have the kids, they seem to really pick up quite a bit.
Okay, yeah. I think it's.
So,
I think you like once you start building that core subscriber base, I think it just kind of snowballs. So you just keep picking up the same kind of snow that you initially made that snowball with. And like for me, it was gear video, so I made a snowball with gear fans, and then I just keep picking up people who like gear videos.
That's a great analogy, actually. Yeah, that's a great analogy because I feel like the thing is I like making long videos. Like I enjoy putting together these lengthy videos because what I like to do, well, probably my biggest inspiration to start doing that was Joe Robinet.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and he goes like he would go on 7-day across the Algonquin Park canoe trips, and that to me is just super fun, right? So, but we would go. I would listen to him, and his videos are like hours. But I enjoy that because I feel like I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like and that's the part that I really enjoy. So that's ultimately you do what you enjoy, right? So that's what I ended up doing. A lot, and that seems to be what I get the most traction out of personally. So
well, I think it resonates with people. Like people see that you're really enjoying making the trip video and being on the trip, and that makes them enjoy watching the video more. So I think you nailed it. Like if you do what you enjoy, make videos what make you happy, then that's gonna bring the audience regardless.
Yeah, that's true. And last week when I was talking with Jason from the Best Backpacker. Super cool dude. Like he looks pretty cool on his videos, but that guy is that guy. I had a blast with him last week as well, and but he doesn't do any trip videos. And he was telling me he's like I don't really like taken away from my trip with a camera, right? Because there is that fine line that we're all out there with cameras. It kind of takes away from the present moment, but you bring back memories. And he's like, you know what? I tried a couple of times. I just don't like it. So he doesn't do any trip videos.
Yeah.
Zero. And he's still doing really good. I mean, like he found his own niche and with all like like the fact that he can sew himself a backpack to me is like
it's awesome. And he's transitioning his channel, I think. I think he's kind of moving it more towards that make your own gear, do it yourself kind of style video. So that'll be interesting to see.
That is the goal for him that he was telling me, at least that he's been kind of putting out there, is that now that he's moved, he's gonna have his new house. He's trying to have a studio where he can have all the cameras. Because I did a couple of DIYs myself, like in my garage, and they got zero traction. So I'm like, okay, I'm never doing that again. And in a way, I'm like, this is so much better that I don't have to do that. It's so much longer to record myself do all these DIYs than to just do them, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he was telling me that's the thing is like, if you're going to be doing DIYs, you need like stands and setup that never moves, just like things that are in place where you have your camera here, that angle there, you leave him there, and then that's where you go from. So he'll be transitioning for sure, I think. Well, now that the whole world is on a stop, I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah, who knows what's going to be happening. It's a good time maybe to be switching into videos on stuff at home.
For sure. Well, I got lucky, man. I had, like I said, like I started with a huge bank of videos because last summer I moved into my new house in July. And I knew I was going to start my channel, and I love making the trip videos because they're such great memories for me. Like that's really where my initial start was. Like, I'm going to make a YouTube channel, but at first I was just going to do trip videos. And then I realized that to make it happen, you kind of need to post consistently, so that, I would have to supplement that with a bunch of different things. But that's kind of how it started. So last summer, I took 35 days off, and I slept 15 of those in a tent. So I had all of that backlog of trips, right?
That's awesome.
So now, right now, that's what's going through. And now that we're stuck inside, so it's kind of neat that I get to publish all of that right now. I couldn't have planned for that.
Yeah. Have you gotten any people who are seeing that you're posting trip videos right now and then like commenting like, what are you doing? Why are you out on a trip? Like, you're supposed to be staying at home. Have you had any of that yet?
Not yet, but my trip videos are pretty obvious that it's the summertime.
That's fair, yeah.
Right? So it's not, it's pretty obvious that it's the summertime, but yeah, no, this is one of those things. I'm personally going to follow orders in a sense that I'm not going to go into the parks until this whole thing is done. I'm not that terrified for myself. It's just out of respect.
Yeah.
If everybody goes out, then there's no support, then there's no staff cleaning up. Like, especially in the Algonquin parks and all these provincial parks, there's staffing out there maintaining the park usually. And if we're all going out there when there's no maintenance done, it's not good for anyone, really.
Exactly. And accidents happen. That's been like one of my friends who's a nurse into the hospital. She was saying like, if everyone goes out and just does one drive somewhere, just because they may not be touching anything or seeing anybody, but if 0.01% of those people get into a car accident, that's just spots in the hospital that are getting taken up. So it's, I'm the same boat as you. I'm trying to limit it.
Yeah, and that seems to be the real threat of what we're living right now, is the possibility of our medical infrastructure to collapse. And more than anything else, I mean, like, it's a bad flu. The percentage is definitely higher than usual, and it affects people in a lot of different ways. But the real threat is having 5,000 people in a hospital in ICU where they all need ventilators, right? And if you're in a car accident, you could land like that. And it's just not the time to overload that, especially out of respect, in my opinion, to our medical professionals, because they're working quadruple time right now.
Oh, it's crazy. And there's the stress on it. Like my nurse and doctor friends, like I try to touch base every day with them, and their stress level is up here. And every person that goes to the hospital for anything is just piling on that stress. So it's whatever we can do to minimize that, the better. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, our future is in their hands. Like, if they all get sick and they go, like, I can't intubate anybody. Like, I don't know for you, but I don't have that skill.
You know what? I'll make a YouTube video. I'll do some research and I'll make a YouTube video.
Yeah. A 12-step
process.
That would be great, actually. That'd be awesome. Oh man. So yeah, it's an unprecedented time for sure. So we'll be at home for the time that's going to be. But talking head videos for sure. A lot of podcasts, man. I mean, I was planning on releasing one podcast a month through my P podcast, because this, for me, this is just pure fun and gold.
Yeah.
Like, it's I get to meet really cool people that love the outdoors. I get to have really fun conversation with people. Like the kid, John. He's not a kid anymore, but John, the last podcast, episode 3, Zaharik from the Adirondacks. That was a blast getting to meet that guy. I've been following him on his videos. He shoots really cool videos, and then I finally had the chance to sit next to him. And the kid is like 22, and he's just like, he's the guy. Man, I was not that organized at 22.
Yes, he has great videos.
I don't know for you, but I
saw that.
Well, just you got to think, just his how do you call that? His discipline. Like, he did all 46 peaks this winter in one season. Wow. Like, that's a lot of discipline that you got to go all the time, right? That was his challenge. That's why I wanted to meet him, because he was currently doing the 46ers in a single season, the winter season, and he just documented the whole thing. He takes these crazy pictures. I mean, the guy was at 22 I didn't have that gear yet. So it'll be neat to see where he ends up when he's
Oh,
30,
definitely.
right?
Yeah, you were out in Tofino surfing, and I was in Halifax drinking on the wharf.
A bottle of rum on the
Yeah,
deck,
exactly.
right? Listening to Great Big Sea and just living
Yeah,
life.
doing a jig.
Yeah, that's not bad. Oh man. Yeah, no, so this podcast has been just fabulous just for the opportunity to do that. So, but I've been getting into it a lot. Like I've got like I'm doing it with John from JK's Hiking next
Good
week,
guy.
which I'm also
Yeah.
super excited. And all of you guys from like I found like John from JK, Jason, Dan Becker, yourself. Like I found all of you guys kind of at the same time. Like you guys did not start that far off from each other in terms of
No, I think it
timing.
was all within the same, like within 6 months probably. Like Dan was fall of like
Yeah.
a year and a half ago, and then JK and Jeremiah I think around the same time, and then
Yeah.
JK and I started both last spring. So there's kind of like people who started 2 falls ago, and then people who started last spring, and yeah, it was kind of the 2019 group.
And did you think that you would find such a cool community of creators when you joined that?
Not even a little bit. I was super surprised. Even like being able to chat with all these different people from across North America and figure out their stories, talk to them, have like this shared passion is really, really cool. And then even just like Maddie and Jesse, like out here in Alberta, just meeting
Yeah.
them, I never even expected that I'd be able to meet other YouTubers in the same province and go on trips with them. Like that's been crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's one thing that like I'm super lucky that I have my good bud Pierre that we go out together all the time. But I don't think there are that many YouTubers around me that does what I do. Like within I don't have that luxury yet. But how was meeting your first fellow YouTuber for a trip? Like, how was that meeting the first time? How weird was it, or was it just like, boom, we're in the gear, we know what we're doing, it's just
It
fun?
was, yeah, I guess like the first kind of just seeing each other was kind of weird. Seeing the person like in real life was a little weird. Like
Yeah.
I'd chatted with Maddie and Marty
And without a script,
yeah, exactly.
without a script too, because that changes everything.
But the
Yeah, for
cameras
sure.
were still there, so it's still kind of like, what's this? Yeah, it was really interesting. I'd chatted with Marty and Maddie before, and I did a trip with them last fall, and meeting them for the first time was definitely a unique experience. But then I think we fell into an easy relationship really quickly. It just was really easy to develop that friendship.
Yeah, and I think like I said, I talk to my Pierre and I talk every day. Like we literally talk every day. And him and I had a really cool conversation where it's like there's something to be said, and I mentioned that earlier a little bit about once you meet people that are willing to do what we do, not that what we do is that extreme or anything like that. Like we're not going up Everest or like putting our lives at risk. But once you find people that are willing to go outside of the comfort zone of living at home and spending 6-7 days out in the bush, eating mountain house meals, and actually enjoying it, and hiking through 10 hours of rain or doing a really rough like portages. Like the last canoe trip Pianton and I did together, our first day was 29 kilometers. It was 9 hours 6 minutes of non-stop moving.
Yeah.
Right, once you find people that can do that or that are interested in doing that, I feel like, man, it would take a lot for two people not to get along.
Exactly. Especially, and to do that every weekend or every other weekend. I find that's the difficulty for me. Like I have friends that I'll go backpacking with, but maybe it's like 2 trips a season, 2 trips a summer, as opposed to people who want to go like every single weekend. That's the tough part, is finding those people who just take it as intensely as you do, as I do, Pierre does, Maddie does. Yeah.
Yeah, and we all have our own approach. That's the other fun thing, right? Like some people have the opportunity to go out constantly, and that's great. I wish I had more time, but my life is just different. For me, I get to go like, so like really I usually get to go on one major backpacking trip in the wintertime and one major portaging trip in the summertime. So I treat those as like they're just like the opportunity to go out and do something that I would never do, because the rest of the time, the deal that I have with my wife is that you can go camping, but bring the kids as much as you can, right? So I try to
Yeah.
bring the kids all the time, and it kind of gives her a bit of a break. She can do other stuff while we're out, and it's kind of fun because it's the thing that I do with the kids. But when I go out on those one big trip where I go with Pierre or with other adults, it's like, for me, it's like I come to that trip physically and mentally prepared. And that's probably the reason why I'm so disciplined on my training. It's like, because when I go out in the Adirondacks, there's no questions that I'm summiting. It's not going to be because of physical abilities that I won't summit, right? It'll be because something happened and I can't go. So I do keep up my fitness level just for that. Like it's very special to me in my life to be able to do that. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's really important. Do you get to go out like a lot yourself, or?
I'm my work is pretty flexible, so I can go out almost as much as I want. If work's busy, then I might not be able to go out. It's kind of a double-edged sword. Like I'll get a lot of times where I can just take a Friday, a Thursday, and a Monday off and take a long weekend. Then there'll be other times where I have a trip planned for a weekend, but then all of a sudden I get a call Friday night and someone's like, I need this done by Monday, and I'll have to cancel the trip. So it goes both ways, but I think it ends up with being able to do more trips than less trips for sure.
Mm. And was it work that's made you settle in Calgary?
It was work, yeah. It was where I graduated from my master's in 2013, and that's when oil was booming out in Alberta. So there was a lot of jobs out here and a lot of really good paying jobs. So that's what drew me out here. And I'm a big skier, big downhill skier, and the mountains out here are pretty epic.
Yeah, they are pretty epic. Do you tour at all, like ski touring, or you go up like regular chairlifts, or?
Mostly touring. This year I didn't ski at a resort once, so it was all backcountry touring.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's good, because that's fun, man. That if I had those kinds of mountain, I would definitely do that, because I'm into cross country skiing like you wouldn't believe. Like that for me, it's like my favorite sport in the wintertime. And in a lot of ways, touring is kind of backcountry touring is a very similar pursuit of like, you have to pay you dues for the fun, right? You work hard, you climb, and the way down is fun. So it's kind of a perfect combination. One thing I wanted to dive, and we can just switch conversation here and go right into this. You've been testing out a lot of different winter quilt setup.
Yes.
For real winter backpack. Well, real. It's kind of funny because I don't mean to insult anyone when I say real winter backpacking. We all have the situations that we're faced with depending where you live in the world. But I'm talking like a possibility of hitting minus 40 degrees Celsius. Like, those are real possibilities where you and I camp in the wintertime. Which for our American folks, minus 40 is where minus 40 Fahrenheit and Celsius meet. So it's pretty darn fucking
It's cold.
That's what it's cold. Have you ever experienced, like, what's the coldest you've gone with quilts?
Minus 20. That was the coldest I've gone with quilts so far. This is the first winter that I've been testing quilts out in a winter scenario. So I've been easing into it. So it's minus 20 is the coldest I've gone so far. I think I could get down to minus 30 Celsius.
Yeah. I'm waiting for you to bomb-proof your technique before I jump in, because I love the quilt for the summer. I have this little Costco quilt that I bought, like the double black diamond. It was nothing. And that's what I use all the time, especially with my X-Term. That's way too hot for the summer anyways. I usually combine the two of those together, and I'm never cold. This is like, for me, that's a great, and it's light. So I'm down for a quilt. I just don't see how I would survive some of the nights I've slept. Like it's I don't know if it's mentally for me or if it's the reality. I just don't see how a quilt would keep me warm enough.
Yeah, in the minus 20, I had base layers and then fleece pants and a fleece sweater. So I think if I Complement that with down pants and a down jacket, and maybe get a warmer synthetic topper quilt, then I think I could get down to minus 30 fairly easily. But the trade-off for me is like getting down to minus 30, I'll probably end up just bringing a sleeping bag. Because at that point, I think you're getting into weight ratios that are a bit more economical with a sleeping bag than having pants, jacket, 2 quilts, and all that.
That is definitely the trade-off. My sleeping bag it's an interesting sleeping bag. It's an MEC sleeping bag, my winter sleeping bag, and it's rated down to minus 20, and it's a Celsius. And then what happens is it's a hybrid version. They don't make those anymore, but so basically it's a hybrid between synthetic and down.
Okay.
So the top part of my bag is all down, and the bottom part is synthetic. And the I guess the reason why they would do that is because you know when you compress your synthetic insulation, you're still getting some pretty decent insulation compared to down.
Mm-hmm.
So you're compromising some weight for some synthetic and size, obviously, for some synthetic, but that minus 20 bag have gotten me through all of my winter nights, down to very cold.
Nice.
And what's helped me a lot, I don't know if you did that, but for me, for years, I've been backpacking since I'm 12. I'm 32 now. And only in the last year did I officially buy a really high-end sleeping pad, which I landed on the Xtherm personally. Just there was a deal at the time, and
they're great.
And I'm actually really.
That's what I have too for winter camping.
Yeah. And that changed. Like I underestimated the quality of a good sleeping pad. Not only for the sleeping, like the fact that you recuperate a lot more at night when you sleep because it's just comfier, but just the warmth of it. It's insane. How long did it take you before you invested in a real sleeping pad?
I got the Xtherm. I got the Xtherm this year. So this is the first time where I have actually just gotten like a dedicated winter sleeping pad. Before I was using other pads that had an R value closer to like 3 to 4, and I was layering foam pads underneath. But they're still pretty warm. Like I was getting up to 4 to 5.5 in R value in that system. But
and that's pretty decent.
Exactly. It makes such a big difference though. It's like having a warm sleeping pad is definitely toasty.
Oh, it changed the game for me, and even I was thinking about this the other day. One of the big skill, in my opinion, that you have to learn in winter backpacking is to learn how to dry your shit, like your clothes. So you hike all day, you get wet, and you get to camp. You have to, like, I have a full down suit from head to toe myself, except my head. I have like my big $600 like puffy jacket from North Face, and I have these down pants. So I'm toasty warm when I get to camp. But there is a technique to learn how to dry your base layers and the pants that you were wearing, so that the next day you can go and you start dry, because otherwise that's just a recipe for disaster. And one of the ways is to dry your stuff in your sleeping bag.
Yep.
And I think that I was way more successful at drying way more stuff in my sleeping bag at night with the Xtherm, and I wonder if it's because of how much warmer it would, especially the reflection of the heat.
Yeah, like I think with the Xtherm, like you're gonna be keeping way warmer. That thing's a furnace. Like it blows me away every time I use it, how much heat is getting reflected back up at me. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, it changed everything for me. So what I would do in the past, so I have this minus 20, but the sleeping bag, what I like is that it wraps you around so there's no draft. The draft has got to be the killer with a quilt in the wintertime, ultimately.
Yeah. I've never had drafts.
I would assume.
I've never had them with any of the quilts that I've had. All of them, like when I set them up, they lock down, and I get ones that are wide enough to be able to drape well when I'm tossing and turning. And I know some people talk about having to like make sure there's no draft in the middle of the night, but I don't have to do that at all. It's I think people who are getting drafts are undersizing their quilts and not getting the right kind of quilt for how they sleep or their size.
Is that right, eh? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to investigate more over time with the quilts situation because I think it's definitely the way to go for 3 seasons. But I'm waiting on you, Justin. You got to put something together for the winter. Once I see you spending a -40 night out there, that's what I'm going for. I'll know it's rock solid if you come up with that plan.
I'll try it. I don't think I'll consistently sleep at -40 with a quilt. I think I'll go to a sleeping bag, but I'll try it just for you. I'll make it happen.
Yeah, and report back. We need some report. Tara and I have been talking about quilts for like a year now, and we're like, God, I'm just not willing to do the test myself.
I'd get one for 3 seasons for summertime for sure. Like no question. I think it's the best for sure.
After experiencing just my little experience with that Costco quilt last summer in my big portaging trip, I was like, yes, 100% quilts are the way to go. For sure. Another thing that you're known quite a bit for on your channel is popular, in my opinion, is to make popular the Atlantean Tent.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the tent because it's been a. So I bought it cheap. I guess they're like the cheap Chinese tent as well. I bought a Fly Creek a number of years ago that I've used a lot. Actually, I'm quite impressed with. It's just a 2-person tent, but it's freestanding. And then the Lanshan came not that long after, and I just missed the boat. I didn't know at the time actually that trekking pole tent existed, so I wasn't even looking for it. But I'm thinking a lot about it. How do you like? I know you like it a lot, but like how is it that good of a tent for the price?
I think so. Like there's a few products out there that when I've been doing my research, you just come across these different things, and the Lanshan one is one of them where there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of one pole, single person trekking pole tents out there, but a lot of them are twice or 3 times as expensive as the Lanshan. And when I look at it, I'm just like, the Lanshan is a good quality tent. It's going to work just as well as the other one. So why pay more than $100 for it? And based on my experience, like it holds up to wind, rain. Like it's a bomb-proof tent, and it's the exact same specs as almost every other sill nylon trekking pole tent out there.
I guess, yeah. And because that's a single wall tent, right?
They make 2. They make a double wall tent and a single wall tent version.
Which one do you have?
I have both.
Of course you do. So if you go in a gear closet and you have to pick one, which one do you take?
I'm picking the single walled one. Yeah, I like single wall tents. If they have a good setup, if I can keep my head and feet away from the walls, which I can with the Lanshan Pro, then I'll go with that every single time because if I'm gonna get condensation in a single walled, I'm also gonna get condensation in the double walled. And what I like with the single wall is I can wipe it off the walls much easier, so I don't have to be reaching underneath the. Because with these tents, the flies are attached to the mesh, so you can't easily take the fly off and shake it like you can with a lot of double wall like regular pole tents.
Oh, okay. So when you pack it the next day, you don't have it's attached to the meshing underneath.
Yeah, so it'd be a big pain to like go and unattach that mesh from the fly just to shake the fly out. So I find the single walled much easier in that regard. Good question.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Yeah. So 5'10". So you and I are the same height. So and the Lanshan one is the 1-person tent, obviously. Your gear doesn't fit in there, I'm assuming?
No, I leave it all in the vestibule outside, yeah.
In the vestibule? And as a 5'10" dude, do you have the regular X-Term or do you have the long or the wide or?
I have the large, the long wide. And then I also have the Etherlight XT in long wide. I'd never go back to non-wide pads. I just sleep so much better on wide pads.
So you have the square, like the rectangle version of the X-Term?
No, it's mummy shaped, but it's 25 inches wide.
Okay, so it's the big guy. Man,
yeah.
You know what? This year I bought the X-Term and the X-Lite. So the X-Term, when Thermarest came up with the new valve, there was a 20% sale at the time. So I just, that was like kind of the opportunity to go for it. And I was too cheap to buy the long one. So I bought the regular size. So I'm 5'10", and it's fine. But I think, like you said, it's one of those things where I think once you swap to a large, you're like you probably now realize how much you were like depriving yourself.
Yeah, it's hard to go back. I've used regular size pads for most of my life. It was only a couple of years ago that I got wide pads, and yeah, at this point, it'd be really hard to go back.
And so I bought the X-Term, and then I went to, you know, the shop Bushtucka in Ottawa?
I do.
Okay, so I went there on my birthday, actually, right early March, and that's when they sell everything, and they were selling all of their Thermarest gear because, again, the new valve came up and all that, and I got an X-Lite for $140.
Ooh, that's Canadian.
Oh, yeah, Canadian, dude.
That's like
was
$80
steal.
American.
I know. I had to leave with it, right? So I took it, and I took the regular. But I think what will ultimately end up happening with those pads, which I'm super happy with. I've slept on both of them. They're great pads. But I think I should and I deserve a wide pad. So what will most likely end up happening is I'll give those pads to the kids, the girls, over time, because they're going to be great forever, and then I'll buy a larger one eventually, because my goal is by the time they're 12, 13, because that's when I started to backpack with like 45 pounds on my back. Like back then it was like cans of tuna, like it was just nothing.
Grumman canoes, like the full aluminum canoes that you're having to carry. Remember those days.
Yeah. So my goal is by the time they get to 12, 13, I want them to all have their own little kit, right? With whether it's a Lanshan, their own little, like, just like now we all go together, but now you're on your own. So right now we all bunk together, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think what I'll end up doing is I'll pass them along my X-Term, and I'll just buy a bigger one because, my problem is how wide my shoulders are as well. Like I'm a pretty wide guy for 5'10", so it's like. Anyways, it's I think but I still sleep comfortable. But
yeah, I think it still works. Like I slept on a regular pad a bit this winter, and I was still able to sleep. But as soon as I went back to the wide one, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I was missing.
I'm keeping that up here because I've been thinking if that was a mistake.
I think
so, and now you might be.
If you go to a quilt, I think combining a quilt with a wide pad, I think that's the money. Like. I don't notice it as much in a sleeping bag because you're kind of constricted anyways. I find I don't really notice the wide pad quite as much, but wide pad with a quilt that's the game changer in my mind for a comfy sleep.
That's a good point because in your sleeping bag, your arms can't fall off the pad because you're stuck in the sleeping bag, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But with the quilt, you don't have that restriction. So that's a really good point actually. Yeah. Interesting. So Lanshan, what is it? The Pro, the Ultimate, you said?
The Pro, yeah. The Lanshan 1 Pro. The problem is it's a bit more expensive because it's the newer version.
Yeah, I'll wait around a little bit, but I think one trekking pole tent like that might be valuable to add to the quiver of the rest. Yeah,
especially for like $100. It's a good. It's one of those things where like you get so much value out of it for $100. There's very few products out there that are like that. Like the Lanshan, the Trekology pillow for me, and then the Decathlon jacket. Those three, like they blow my mind with how good of the value is. Like I can't not rave about those products enough.
Yeah, I'll throw in a fourth one in there for you, but I know it's a polarized one, but I don't see the argument against, but the fourth one in there would be the BRS stove, in my opinion.
That's it. Yeah, that's the fourth one for sure. I think it's okay. for its price and function, it can't beat it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people talk about the Solar Windmaster or the Pocket Rocket, which are fantastic stoves. Probably all in all together better, more performant. I've never done the test myself, But man, you can buy three BRS for the same price as one Pocket Rocket, and for the same size and for the same weight.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things where it's like if you're afraid that your BRS is gonna fail, just buy two. It'll still be cheaper and lighter, and put both of them in your backpack.
Yep, exactly. And mine has failed, and it's still one of my favorite budget products. Yeah, I had the arms melting, but that's because I had it blasting at like as high as you can go with wind. So the wind was concentrating on one arm, and then the arm just melted. But I'm bent it back, and then since then I just don't blast it full blast and take an extra 30 seconds to boil water. Not a big deal.
Yeah, no, no big deal, right? Exactly. No, that's for sure one of the big guy in there. So when did you get into hiking or backpacking or camping? Like how did that start for you?
That started back in Ottawa, and same kind of stuff to what you're doing with canoe tripping, and I think that's the big kind of backcountry adventure mode out in the eastern Canada area. So that's what I started with, canoe trips and camping in that way. In high school, I did like a bunch of multi-day canoe trips into university, and that's how I got into it. And then once I moved out west, that's when I actually started hiking and backpacking. It wasn't until I got out here that I actually started carrying stuff on my back. I remember living out east and being like, why would I carry stuff on my back? I can just put it in a canoe and paddle it. It seems like way less work. And then didn't realize until I got out here.
Yeah. They're both, I wouldn't be able to pick one or the other personally. I'm like, like that's one of the things too with my channel that I'm not struggling because I'm just okay with it. I've made peace with it, but I don't have I'm not super niche down. Like I bike pack, I canoe trip, and I backpack, and I wouldn't give one away. Like there's no way I could live without one. But yeah, that's super fun. So I'm assuming you're familiar with the Algonquin Park a lot. If that's what you started with, probably.
Yeah, I've done a few trips up there, and then Temagami as well as Northern Ontario and the Thunder Bay area.
Oh, nice.
That's where I did. I think it was the Thunder Bay area is where I did my biggest trip. I did a 30-day trip in high school. That was a ton of fun. 30 days, yeah. That was a big trip.
Dude, no kidding. 30 days is huge. Holy cow. So what do you guys do for food for 30 days?
So there is outfitters kind of along the way. So we'd resupply about every week.
Okay. And
as we went along.
And what grade were you in?
That was in grade 12. So it was one of those things where you got like course credit for doing it. So I went on a 30-day canoe trip, had a blast, and got a course credit for doing it.
Are you now you went with a bunch of other students, right?
Yeah, it was like I think there's 12 of us and then 3 guides.
Wow. And those other kids that were in the class at the time, were they your friends prior to the trip?
No, I didn't know any of them.
So how did that go? That dynamic go over the trip?
It was interesting. It was the group of people on that trip is probably one of the most interesting groups of people that I've ever spent that amount of time with, because you had people like I was a bit of a nerd in high school, and so were a few of the other people in the group. I loved homework, doing math, and so there's like that group of people on this trip.
Okay.
And then you had like the kids who were going there because their parents wanted to kind of get rid of them or get them into the outdoors to kind of find themselves. And we had like some kids who were fresh out of jail, like drug dealers. Like there was half the group like that, and then half the group who wasn't. So it was really interesting having the two different like types of people interact, and I think it was good for everybody. Everyone learned a lot about the world.
Yo, God, yes. I think, man, especially at such a young age. Like you would have been 18, give or take.
18.
Like,
yeah.
It's so funny when you're 18 in the moment, you think you know everything. Then you grow up and you're like, dude, I was an idiot back then. But like, it's such a good time in your life to have this kind of humbling experience, in my opinion. And that's one of the things that outdoors have done a lot to me. I can't deny that I have, I'm not super competitive, but I'm really hard on myself, I would say. And I certainly have a certain amount of ego that pushed me to freeze my toes, 6 out of 10 toes 2 winters ago, so hard that I was out of like I couldn't feel all my toes for 6 months. Okay? It took 6 months for them to come back. So I can't say that I don't have a certain amount of ego that I'm constantly fighting. And my point is, the outdoors just kind of sets me back. It's like, dude, you're nothing. Like, I can take you away in
Yeah.
a second, right? If you don't respect it. So to me, like when you're 18 and when I was younger, I got a lot of peace out of that. Like a lot of like, it just
Yeah.
kind of put me back into place to understand, to try to figure out this life, right? This experience we're having. So, yeah, at 18, that would have been a crazy trip to do, man.
Yeah, it was, and I agree with you completely. Like, especially since you're out there, and a lot of the times it's kind of you against yourself almost. So you have these opportunities to really have those self realizations of like, oh wow, like I thought I was really good at backpacking or whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, nope, I'm crying on the side of the trail or something.
I'm crying on the side of the trail. Oh man, yep, yeah, that'll happen from time to time. But I think it's good, and that's why I've been trying to, you know, in a lot of ways, raise my kids in that world a lot. I like, there's something to be said. Like some people live in the. I had a couple that came here to stay in the bed and breakfast that were from Toronto, and they told me it had been years since that they hadn't seen any stars. And from my house in Wakefield, you can see in a very shaded white the Milky Way. It's nothing impressive. It's not like when you're in the backcountry. But my point is that I think there's something to be said about remembering what we're part of, and I'm trying to raise my kids in that, to give them, especially. Well, I'm assuming you're if you studied in biology, and I think you probably work in the field of the environment.
I do.
Yeah, you do. So for me, like if we're trying to raise an environmentally aware new generation, right? Because we do have to change our ways as to how we consume and how we do business so that we don't just blow up this planet. To me, the best way to do that is just to show them the beauty of our planet, right?
It is, yeah.
And to remind them that at any given time, it's I don't have that conversation yet with them, but at any given time, when you look up and you see all the stars, a freaking comet could take us all out in a second, right? So
Yep.
it's a humbling experience.
I think the kids do appreciate it. Like I've met some kids whose parents get them out into the outdoors quite often, and they have such a stewardship for the outdoors, and they have such a passion in caring that they're champions for the outdoors. They talk to friends, and if a friend of theirs is like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna go like cut down all these trees in my backyard for fun, they're the ones who are standing up and me like, well, why? Like how let's go camping and set up some hammocks in there or something like that. And yeah, it's neat to see how exposing them to the outdoors can really garner that sort of responsibility and stewardship and just love for the outdoors. It's amazing.
Yeah. Speaking of hammock, have you ever hammock camped?
I haven't. And Matty, every single he gets on me every single time we go camping about not hammock camping. This summer he's going to take me hammock camping and show me what it's all about, and we'll see how I like. Actually, I went once when I was in Vietnam. I hammock camped for 2 nights, but it was pretty luxury. And
so you're gonna try this summer, basically.
Yeah, gonna try with Matty this summer.
Man, I tried. I did my first night in a hammock last summer myself. It was the best night of my life.
Was that on your canoe trip?
Yeah, it was on the canoe trip.
Yeah, I saw that video, and you woke up and you're like, that was amazing.
And it's like, I didn't even have a hammock for that. I had the Costco Chillax hammock that I just bring as a luxury item just so I can lounge around. And Pierre and my buddy Al that was with me both are in hammocks, and they're like, just sleep across. I'm like, what do you mean across? So they showed me the technique on how to sleep so you're straighter. Plus I have my sleeping pad underneath me there. And I always tell everybody I don't sleep well when I'm out in the backcountry personally. Like it's not like I get that good sleep. First, I'm often enough I'm there with the kids, so I'm just kind of super hyper aware of every noise I hear all the time. That's one thing. But second, ultimately, I just am not that comfortable, even with really good pads. Like some people just fall asleep. Like for me, I'll toss and turn for a long time. But in the hammock, holy cow!
You're just out like a light.
Out like a light, and I slept. I never thought I could have such a good night's sleep.
That's awesome.
So yes, it'll be interesting once you try it, because that's another one where I'm like, I really want to invest in a hammock after that experience, but at this point I still sleep in the tent with the kids because I don't want to leave them alone.
Yeah.
So until we kind of all separate each other, or I feel like the next thing that's gonna happen is that both the girls are gonna kick me out of the tent. Like, they're gonna be like, just go sleep somewhere else, right? I feel.
That'll be your excuse to get a hammock.
Yeah, that'll be the excuse to get a hammock, and then I'll get into that. But I think Justin, I think we're just about to run out of time on your camera again. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. I had a blast getting to know you. Hopefully our subscribers had an opportunity to get to meet the person behind the camera a bit more.
Yeah, man, I had a ton of fun as well. And especially, we're definitely gonna have to get out on a trip once I make it back to Ontario. My parents still live in Ottawa, so I'm gonna come back. Maybe I can set aside an extra week. We can go on a trip, or even a long weekend or something like that. So,
dude, anytime you're in town, if especially if you know ahead of time. To be honest, I have to kind of plan stuff out. But if you come back in the summertime, we should definitely go into Algonquin Park.
Yeah,
that would be super fun.
Yeah,
and we could explore there and just have a good old time. To be honest.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Awesome. Tell the folks at home where they can find you on Instagram, YouTube, and all that stuff.
So basically everywhere. It's Justin Outdoors, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, you can check out my channel and see some information about gear. Get to nerd out about gear.
No, it's awesome. Your channel is freaking awesome. So I do encourage anybody that needs more information about the outdoors in general. Your skill set is actually, from what I've seen, is dead on point. So if anybody wants to learn anything, you're definitely a really good resource for that. So
thanks, man.
Thanks for doing that, man. I really appreciate it, and we'll have to do that again sometime.